Hello everyone, today I'm back at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. I'm going to do a video on one of my favourite headstones in the whole cemetery. It's one that until last night I've never actually researched for some reason, probably to do with the fact that the surname is Richardson and finding details of the ship was a little bit more difficult because it had such a name of Wearmouth, just the name SS Wearmouth on the headstone, but in reality it was generally known the ship as the Wearmouth, so probably that's the reason I didn't really dig into it before, but I'll show you the headstone just to give some idea where we are. There's the Southern Cemetery Chapel. We're just next to the memorial for James Hartley and a few of the great and the good from Sunderland's history. Now, I'll read this out first of all. This is erected by Thomas Richardson in memory of his son William Richardson, an engineer who was lost with the SS Wearmouth in her voyage to Hamburg on July the 27th, 1867, aged 36 years. And there's a lovely epitaph on this slate headstone which is meant it's perfectly legible. So, what was his last thought as he struggled with death? We hope it was of repenting. It was hard to die away from his home with not a friend near to lament him. So last night I had a look into this particular gentleman's life. Now the SS Wearmouth was known as the Wearmouth, and it was taking over 600 tons of coal from Sunderland across to Hamburg. Now it got into difficulty somewhere between Heligoland and the German coast. It was another ship had seen a ship similar to it foundering in the sea, but the gales and stuff were just so bad. That ship itself was in danger of being dragged under. So it slowly went down to its doom. And William Richardson was the chief. He was the chief engineer on that particular ship. Now there was a crew of 16 men on it, 15 with a crew, and one Sunderland man had taken his son along who had a few health problems, so sadly 16 men died. The vast majority of them were from Sunderland, and it left behind, I think, 12 widows and 30 orphans. Now 3 of the widows were soon to be confined in the next few weeks or months. So it was devastating for the families, and it was sad day in Sunderland's history, but not uncommon for that. Now, there had been some hope that the ship hadn't sunk, but not long after, on the German coast, a bucket from the ship was found which just had Wearmouth on it. But also there was a board off the ship which had the Sunderland motto on it of Nil Desperadum Ospea or Deo, which meant something about with God behind you and so on. So there was a relief fund was started for the widows and the orphans. There was a bit of controversy because there was an organisation in Sunderland. I'll just read the name out because I can never remember this. The Society for the Relief of Widows and Orphans of Shipwrecked Mariners of the Port of Sunderland. Unfortunately, they wouldn't help on this particular instance because they had a policy where if somebody had drowned, they were called SS steamships, but it was called screw steamers, had sunk, because the amount of men that were on them, they wouldn't do anything for the widows and the orphans, which was a lot of people were disgusted with because they had reserves of funds that had been built up through subscriptions from ship owners and sailors over the years. So as you can imagine, 12 widows, 30 orphans, that's just off one tragic Sunderland ship that went down in the German Sea, as it was known at the time. So that is William Richardson, engineer. Now, in the casualty list in the newspaper, it does mention that he had a wife. I was unable to trace who his wife was. Richardson's one of those worst names to research done. So now underneath that epitaph it also mentions Susanna, mother of the above, who died February the 21st, I think that's 1875, aged 72 years. So Thomas erected this: farewell dear wife, and take thy rest, for God hath called when he thought best. The loss is great that we sustain, but I hope in heaven we shall meet again. So that was epitaph chosen by her husband, Thomas Richardson. And also Thomas Richardson, the beloved husband of the above, who died August the 20th, 1878, aged 71 years. Now William was actually a gardener in Bishopwearmouth. He was born in Coundon. His wife Susanna was born in Bishopwearmouth, and the family in 1841 were living in Hope Street, which is not far from the city centre, just sort of near Johnson Street, behind Silksworth Row. In 1851 they were living in Church Lane, right next to Bishopwearmouth Parish Church. So it's a fine stone. And Thomas and Susanna lived at a place called Truitt's building, which was sort of right next to the old infirmary at the bottom of Chester Road, up towards Johnson Street. I believe there were apartments with several families living in the different rooms in that particular block. There were other children that they'd had back in Sunderland in the 1830s and so on. So it's just, I think, two beautiful epitaphs and just a brief look into the lives of the Richardson family. Sadly, the stone has collapsed and it's laid flat now. Just get a view of where we are. Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. And just to get a sense of the amount of master mariners who are mentioned at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery, right behind it is this fine stone. If I stand back, I think I'm 6 foot or 5'11". There's this fine stone for members of the Pounder family. Look at that symbolism for a mariner. Edward Pounder, master mariner, died at Sierra Leone 1823, aged 30 years. And his wife Mary, the relict, which meant she never married after his death, died 1869, aged 82 years. Again, Francis, their son, a master mariner, and his wife were both drowned near Salcombe, I think it's Devon, 1852, aged 37 years. And if you go down even further, this whole family, Edward, their son, a master mariner, died 1873, and James, their son, master mariner, died at Coconada 1874, aged 54 years. So at least 3 sons, himself. Now Sierra Leone 1823, for a British sailor, probably wasn't the best place to be around, with all the native fevers, infections that you could probably pick up in a tropical climate like that. That's huge, that. And I've just noticed, I think that is probably to symbolise rope for a sailor. Until I started doing all this history stuff probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I'd never appreciated the maritime history of Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth and Wearmouth. Obviously everybody knows about shipbuilding and shipyards, ship repairs, coal mining, all the other industries and so on, but I hadn't realised there was tens of thousands of men and women who went to sea, not just around Britain and Europe, but all over the globe, many never to return home. So just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you did like it, please give it a like, and if you wish to, click on the subscribe option so you can get updates of any future videos that I do. I'll just give you with one last look at that beautiful stone erected by Thomas. He had a good choice of epitaphs to remember his son and his dear wife. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.